Algebra 2 students, so this is page 18, study guide, and I'm just going to work through a few of these exercises. I'm going to try to work down through that left-hand column. So we're solving quadratics. So number one, it is 6x squared minus 2x is equal to 0. So I'm going to try to, it is set equal to 0. I'm going to try to factor this. First step is always greatest common factor. And I see that I can take a 2 out of each term and an x, which would leave me with 3x minus 1. And then my solutions would be 0 and a positive 1/3. Again, that's what's making each of these factors equal 0. Number 4, I have 6x squared. I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides to get this to equal 0. And then I can take an x out, is all, which leaves me with 6x minus 7. So therefore my solutions would be 0 and a positive 7/6. Number 7 is x squared minus x minus 30 is equal to 0. So going through our techniques, our process, there is no greatest common factor. It is not difference of squares because there's not two terms. Is it a PST, a perfect square trinomial? No, because 30 is not a perfect square. So this is a trial and error. I'm going to make my two sets of parentheses. Since I've got x squared, I need to have x and x. And then I'm looking at a negative 30. So the negative tells me I'm going to have one negative sign and one positive. Since I only have the x and the x being the same thing, I can plug those in. And then I need my outside terms, outside and inside, to give me a negative 1. So factors of 30 that differ by 1 would be 6 and 5. And I'd want the 6 to be negative, the 5 to be positive. And therefore my solutions would be positive 6 and negative 5. Those would be my x-intercepts of that particular parabola. Number 10 is 4x squared plus 27x minus 7 is equal to 0. So once again, no greatest common factor. It's definitely not difference of squares. Is it a perfect square trinomial? No, because 7 is not a perfect square. So trial and error here. Now, I'm going to show you a couple options here. We've got 4x squared. I could have 2x and 2x. I could have 4x and x. These are just options. Now, I'm going to use, look at the negative 7. The negative tells me one of each sign. My only factors of 7 are 1 and 7. Which makes me think if my outsides and insides need to give me 27x, if I pair this 7 with the 4, that's 28x, and 1x making that negative. This is going to work in check. So this is my factoring. My solution, therefore, would be positive 1/4 and negative 7. Number 13 is 12x squared minus 8x plus 1 equals 0. So again, looking at this 12x squared, I've got a few options here. I've got 3x and 4x. I could do 6x and 2x. Maybe 12x and x. I don't think there. I'm going to look at this positive 1. That positive sign tells me they both have to be negative. And my only factors of 1 are 1 and 1. So if I place these in here, and remember I need to get my outsides and insides to be negative 8x, this is the one that's going to work right there. And my solutions would be positive 1/6 and positive 1/2. Number 16, we've got 2x squared minus 11x minus 40 equals 0. There's no greatest common factor. It is not difference of squares. It's not a perfect square trinomial. I start with 2x squared. I got to have x and x. And now I'm looking at my factors of 40. Right away I think 8 and 5. And if I pair this 8 with 2, that would be 16x and 5x, which I believe together would work if the 16x is negative. So I'm going to make this negative, this positive. It does check. Solutions would be a negative 5/2 and a positive 8. Number 19, we've got 8x squared minus 14x plus 3. And again, the 8x squared, I could have 2x and 4x. I could potentially have x and 8x. Looking at this positive 3, again, this positive sign tells me they both have to be negative. And then my only factors of 3, my only possibilities are 1 and 3. And realizing I got to get a negative 14 from my outsides and insides. If I put a 3 here, that gives me negative 12x. And the 1 here is a negative 2. Together, that's going to give me that negative 14. So I've got it. My solutions would be positive 3/2 and positive 1/4. I'm going to skip to number 23. It's 12x squared plus 18x plus 6. Reason for this is there is a greatest common factor for this one. I could take a 6 out. It'll leave me with 2x squared plus 3x plus 1. And I don't have to worry too much about that 6, but I'm going to have 2x and x. This tells me both signs must be positive. 1 and 1 are my only options. And if you look at this, 1x and 2x does give you the 3x. It does work. And my solutions would be negative 1/2 and a negative 1. So I hope this helps you in completing the study guide, page 18.